If you're working as a health, fitness, or a wellness professional, you're likely going to come across clients that are dealing with SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And recently I found an insight that may be the biggest insight that I've come across this year. So I wanted to share this with you guys to help you figure out, is this causing SIBO for your clients, or if they're taking steps to correct it, is it allowing the SIBO to come back a few months? Let's jump in.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So remember, I'm not giving you any medical advice to give to your clients, but we'll go over some educational material and I'll talk about some of these studies, and I'll put links to these studies in the description below so you can dig into them a little bit more if you want to. And I'll make them big so you can see them. It's okay if I stand in front of them. But we've talked about other causes of SIBO before. The ones that most people agree upon are slow motility, where things are moving too slow here that allows bacteria to kind of accumulate and then replicate and create trouble. We've talked about low stomach acid, and this stomach acid is not just there to help us digest our food, it's like the barrier to the whole digestive tract. So when varmints come in on the food that we're eating, they're supposed to die in an acid bath. So if a client is not making enough stomach acid, which can happen for a wide variety of reasons, then these bad guys come in and they set up camp, and that can be a cause of SIBO. We've talked about ileocecal valve dysfunction, which is this little sphincter valve here in between the end of the small intestine and the beginning of the large intestine. It's supposed to be like a one-way valve that allows digested food to move from the small intestine into the large intestine. But if it's not closing correctly, then this bacteria that should be here in the large intestine can go back into the small intestine and set up camp there and create a SIBO issue. We've also talked about poor bile flow. It's really common for clients not to have bile flowing correctly, and that bile should be coming down and also has antimicrobial properties. So the bad guys that get through the stomach acid usually get taken care of by bile as well. So those are common causes. Most people agree on those. But today I want to talk about a hormone called gastrin. And the purpose of gastrin here in the stomach is to basically signal the body to, hey, let's make some hydrochloric acid so we can acidify this food and break it down correctly. Now, when gastrin is released, it also has this other job where it'll enter the circulatory system so that it can go to other areas of the digestive tract without having to travel through the digestive tract. So it comes down here and tells the end of this small intestine here to become more mobile, kind of move things through a little bit more, and also open up this valve so that food can move through. So it has two purposes there. People kind of feel like that happens because it's basically like the body saying, hey, food came in, so let's make gastrin, and the gastrin will tell the HCl to acidify that food, but the gastrin will also tell the small intestine, let's move this stuff out into the large intestine to make more room for this food that just came in. So that makes good sense. The triggers for this gastrin are basically food coming into the stomach. That pushing out against those walls of the stomach basically triggers the body, hey, it's time to release gastrin so we can acidify this food. But the other trigger is the pH of the stomach. This is a very acidic environment, and the food that we eat is not like battery acid, it's not that acidic, so it's going to raise the pH when it comes into the stomach. And an elevated pH is what tells the gastrin, well, it's too alkaline in here, so we need to release gastrin to tell the stomach to make hydrochloric acid so we can acidify that food. So it was this study here that I'll link below on predictors of gastrin elevation following proton pump inhibitor therapy, that they saw that if a person has been using a proton pump inhibitor for an extended period of time, or a PPI is an acid reflux medication that's used to turn off stomach acid and relieve that symptom of reflux coming back up and burning them. And most people don't know that you can fix reflux by acidifying the stomach more, and then that allows this valve at the bottom of the esophagus to be triggered to close. We're not going to talk about that here. We go over that in a lot of other videos. But in any case, if someone had been using a PPI for an extended period of time, that they would see elevated levels of gastrin in these individuals. And that makes sense. Food is coming in, the body's like, oh, food's in here, it's not acidic enough, we're going to release gastrin so that we can acidify this stomach. And then the acid doesn't show up because the PPI is restricting that acid production. So the body's like, well, that didn't work. Well, I'm just going to make more gastrin. This is the way that I signal the body to make hydrochloric acid, so I'm just going to release more. And the longer they're on the PPI, the more elevated that gastrin goes. Now, here's something to think about. This gastrin, remember, its job is to signal hydrochloric acid production, but its job is also to open up this valve and get things to move through. So if this gastrin is going high because the stomach is not being acidified like it's supposed to, and so that signal just keeps going, hey, release more gastrin. If that's going high, is it also opening this door too often and then allowing this bacteria to move back in and create that SIBO issue? And keep in mind that your client doesn't need to be on a PPI to have low stomach acid production. There's a wide variety of reasons that a client might not be able to make enough stomach acid. Maybe they're stressed, maybe they don't have the resources, maybe their autonomic nervous system is stuck in the fight or flight state either because of stress in their life or stress in their body. So there's a lot of reasons that someone might not be making enough stomach acid, but when that's the case, we see that we're going to see that elevated gastrin level. And when we look at this study here on a prospective evaluation of ileocecal valve dysfunction and intestinal motility derangements in small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, they saw that when this valve was opening up and this bacteria was coming back into the small intestine, that this bacteria can have like an alkaline waste byproduct. And that can further alkalize this intestinal tract, which makes things move through at a slower pace. So now we're magnifying these slow motility issues that people say seems to cause the SIBO issue. Also, if things move really slow, then we can create chronic constipation issues as things become too dry. And then either undigested food or this compacted fecal matter from things not moving through can block this valve from opening. So we have a wide variety of issues that are coming from this elevation of gastrin leaving this door open too much. So even though the gastrin is really causing the trouble, it's really the hypochlorhydria's fault. It's the inability to produce that stomach acid or hypochlorhydria that seems to be triggering the gastrin to go too high. So if a client can fix the acidity in the stomach, now the gastrin won't go too high. And also, acidifying the stomach is going to close the front door so all the bad guys don't come in on the food that they're eating. But then that's not going to raise the gastrin too high to always signal this back door to stay open. So the clients have these varmints coming in from the front door and from the back door. But if we can acidify the stomach correctly, we shut both the doors. Now we can take steps to reduce the overgrowth and it won't come back in 2 months because this back door is left open or the front door is left open. So an effective step that we use is supplementing with betaine HCl capsules, which is a supplemental form of HCl that you can use in the middle of meals. We like clients to take it in the middle of the meal because if you take it before and you acidify this too early, are you going to restrict that gastrin release? So we like to have people take it in the middle of the meal, and you really want clients to use it the right way. I'm not going to go over all of that in this video, but my book Health Pro Results, chapters 3 and 4, kind of walk you through helping clients figure out which aspects of digestion are not working correctly and steps they can take to improve those. And the book is available on Amazon, but I'll put a link in the description below so you can get the whole thing totally for free. And then you can just jump to chapters 3 and 4. And if you're a consumer that just happened upon this video because you like the topic, then we'll put a link in the description below for my book, Kick Your Fat in the Nuts. And chapters 3 and 4 of that book go over the same stuff. That's just more written for consumers, where the Health Pro Results book is really written for health professionals. But you'll be able to get either of those books for free in the description below. But you want to understand how to have your clients use it the right way, but also you want to understand possible troubles that can come up. If they have an overgrowth in their stomach and they put that HCl in there, then that has the ability to magnify some of the symptoms that they're dealing with. So your client's going to be like, that made me feel worse. I ain't doing that again. That wasn't for me. But if you can help them reduce that overgrowth, then they'll qualify to acidify that stomach correctly and correct all these troubles that seem to be creating these SIBO type issues. So reducing an overgrowth first can be a big step. That book kind of walks you through doing that if you don't know how to do that either. But understanding how to get this acidified the right way not only closes the front door, but because of this gastrin activity, also has the ability to close the back door. When that stomach is acidified, there's other hormones that are involved in restricting gastrin production, but they're triggered by stomach acid. So we really need that stomach acid there functioning correctly to keep that gastrin from going too high. So I hope that helps, and right now if you want to learn more about setting clients up to succeed with that HCl supplementation, you can jump over and check out our video on helping clients wipe out bad bacteria in the stomach. I can't wait to hear about your results.